I was 26 when mom died. Pancreatic cancer took her in 4 months flat. From diagnosis to funeral, dad cried at the service, held my hand during the eulogy, told me we'd get through this together. That lasted exactly 3 weeks. Then he brought Sandra home. She walked into our house like she owned it, designer heels clicking on the hardwood floors mom had picked out grain by grain. Behind her came Tyler, her 23-year-old son, already scanning the place like an appraiser. Dad cleared his throat at dinner that first night, fork halfway to his mouth. Sandra and I have been seeing each other for a while now. We thought, given everything, it made sense for them to move in. Fresh start for all of us. I set my water glass down slowly. How long is a while? Sandra's smile didn't reach her eyes. Does it matter, sweetie? Your father deserves to be happy. My mother's ashes were still on the mantel. 6 months, Dad said. We've been together 6 months. The math hit me like a slap. Mom was still alive 6 months ago. Still sitting in the chemo chair every Tuesday while I held the basin, and Dad claimed he was working late. Tyler smirked into his wine. Awkward. I excused myself and didn't come back down until morning. Within a week, Sandra had rearranged the entire living room. Mom's quilts disappeared into storage. Her books vanished from the shelves. The photos on the wall got edited down to just me and Dad, like Mom had been photoshopped out of our lives. I'd find Sandra in Mom's reading chair, feet up, flipping through design magazines. Your mother had no sense of style, did she? Sandra said one afternoon without looking up. All this clutter. A house should breathe. She had cancer, I said from the doorway. Not bad taste. Sandra turned a page. Same difference in the end, I suppose. Tyler was worse. He'd taken over the guest room, which had been Mom's craft space, and turned it into what he called his creative studio. That meant video game setup, empty energy drink cans, and a door that stayed locked when he had girls over. He started using my car without asking. I'd come out in the morning and find the tank empty, fast food bags in the back seat, a new scratch on the bumper. Relax, he'd say when I confronted him. It's just a car. It's my car. He'd shrug. Dad said I could borrow it, and Dad would just nod when I asked him about it. Share and share alike, Lily. We're a family now. But we weren't a family. We were 4 people living in a house that used to be a home, and I was the only one who seemed to remember what it had been. The real trouble started when Mom's lawyer called. Mr. Hendricks had handled Mom's estate planning, and he asked me to come to his office alone. I thought it was just paperwork, maybe some final medical bills to settle. Instead, he slid a folder across his desk. Your mother updated her will 8 weeks before she passed. She was very specific about her wishes. I opened it slowly. Inside was a letter in Mom's handwriting, shaky but unmistakable. My dearest Lily, it began. If you're reading this, I'm gone and I need you to know some things I couldn't say while I was sick. My hands started shaking. I know about Sandra. Your father thinks I didn't, but I've known for months. I also know what will happen after I'm gone. He'll bring her into our home. He'll let her erase me. And you'll be left alone to fight a battle you shouldn't have to fight. So I'm giving you ammunition. The letter went on for 3 pages. Mom had liquidated her personal investments, her inheritance from her own mother, everything that was solely in her name. She'd placed it all in an irrevocable trust with me as the sole beneficiary, $1.2 million. But there was a condition. I couldn't access it until I turned 30 or until I could prove I'd left my father's house and established independence. Whichever came first. Mr. Hendricks handed me another document. She also left you the lake house. It was purchased with her inheritance money before she married your father, so it was never marital property. It's yours outright. Deeds already transferred. I stared at the papers. Mom had given me an escape hatch and made sure I'd use it. The house is currently rented, Mr. Hendricks continued, but the lease ends in 2 months. After that, you can move in or continue renting it out. The choice is yours. I drove home in a daze. The lake house was 3 hours north, a small cabin Mom used to take me to every summer. We'd spend weeks there, just the 2 of us, swimming and reading and talking about everything. Dad never came, said he didn't like the quiet. Now I understood why Mom had held on to it so tightly. I didn't tell anyone about the inheritance. Not yet. But I started making plans. Sandra noticed the change first. You're smiling, she said one morning, suspicion dripping from every word. What are you up to? Just thinking about the future, I said. Tyler looked up from his phone. You get a boyfriend or something? Or something? That night, Dad cornered me in the kitchen. Sandra says you've been acting strange. Everything okay? Everything's fine, I said, loading the dishwasher with plates they'd left scattered across the counter. Just working on some personal projects. What kind of projects? The kind that don't concern you. His face hardened. Don't take that tone with me. I'm still your father. Are you? Because fathers usually care when their daughters are grieving. They don't replace their wives before the grave's even settled. He stepped back like I'd hit him. You don't understand what it's like, losing someone. I laughed, sharp and bitter. You're right. I have no idea what it's like to lose my mother. How could I possibly understand? I left him standing there and went to my room. The confrontation I'd been avoiding came 6 weeks later. I'd spent the weekend at the lake house, measuring rooms and meeting with contractors about some updates. When I got back Sunday night, Dad, Sandra, and Tyler were waiting in the living room like an intervention committee. Sit down, Dad said. I stayed standing. What's this about? Sandra leaned forward, hands clasped. We've been talking, and we think it's time you started contributing more to the household expenses. I already pay rent, I said, $500 a month, which was Dad's idea. That was before, Sandra said. Before Tyler and I moved in. Now there are more people, more utilities, more everything. We think $1,000 a month is fair. Tyler nodded along like a bobblehead. Plus groceries. You eat here, right? I looked at Dad. Are you serious right now? He wouldn't meet my eyes. It's reasonable, Lily. You have a good job. You can afford it. And what does Tyler contribute? I asked, turning to him. Besides my gas money and the dent in my car? Tyler's face flushed red. That's different. I'm looking for work. You've been looking for 6 months. Sandra stood up, voice sharp. Don't speak to my son that way. He's going through a tough time. I almost laughed. A tough time? His tough time involved playing video games 16 hours a day and going through my father's wallet while he slept. Oh yes, I knew about that too. I'd installed a camera in my room after my grandmother's necklace went missing. The footage showed Tyler picking the lock and pocketing cash from my dresser drawer. I'd been saving that evidence. I'm not paying more rent, I said calmly. In fact, I'm moving out. The room went silent. Dad finally looked at me. Moving out where? Mom's lake house. She left it to me. Sandra's mouth fell open. She what? The lake house was always hers, I explained. Bought before you two got married, Dad. Never marital property. She signed it over to me before she died. I've been fixing it up. I move in 2 weeks. That house is worth at least $400,000, Sandra hissed. Your father is entitled to half. No, Mr. Hendricks said from the doorway. I'd called him before coming home, asked him to stop by. He stood there in his gray suit, briefcase in hand, looking like the angel of legal justice. The property was purchased by Mrs. Hayes with her separate inheritance funds and maintained solely by her throughout the marriage. Washington is a community property state, but separate property remains separate. Mr. Hayes has no claim whatsoever. Dad's face went white. Lily, you can't do this. I'm not doing anything, I said. Mom did it. She knew exactly what would happen, and she made sure I'd be okay. Sandra turned on Dad, voice rising. You told me everything would be split 50-50 when she died. You said we'd sell that house and use the money for renovations here? That's what I thought, Dad stammered. I didn't know she'd changed anything. Mr. Hendricks set his briefcase on the coffee table and pulled out another folder. There's more. Mrs. Hayes also established a trust for Lily funded by her personal investments and inheritance. The total value is approximately $1.2 million. Tyler jumped to his feet. No way. That money should go to Dad. Actually, it can't, Mr. Hendricks said. The funds were never commingled with marital assets. Mrs. Hayes was very careful about that. Sandra's face had gone from red to purple. So she just left everything to her daughter and nothing to her husband? After 30 years of marriage? She left him the house they shared, Mr. Hendricks said, his car, his retirement accounts, and his business. But her personal assets were always hers to distribute as she saw fit. And she chose Lily. Dad sank into his chair. I don't understand. Why would she do this? Maybe because she knew what you'd do the second she was gone, I said quietly. Maybe because she loved me enough to protect me from you? Sandra grabbed her purse. This is ridiculous. We're going to contest this. We'll sue. Mr. Hendricks smiled, thin and professional. You're welcome to try, but I should mention that contesting a properly executed trust is expensive, time-consuming, and given the documentation Mrs. Hayes left behind, including a letter explaining her reasoning, almost certain to fail. You'd be throwing away legal fees for nothing. He pulled out one more document. Also, Lily has asked me to inform you that she's aware of the items taken from her room over the past 2 months. She has video evidence of Tyler Hayes entering her locked bedroom and removing cash and jewelry. The total value exceeds $1,000, which constitutes felony theft in this state. Tyler backed toward the door. That's bullshit. You can't prove anything. I held up my phone and played the video. There he was, clear as day, picking my lock with a credit card and rifling through my drawers. Put it back, I said, or I file charges tomorrow. Tyler looked at Sandra. Mom. Give her back her things, Sandra snapped. Now. He disappeared upstairs and came back with my grandmother's necklace and $200 in crumpled bills. The rest I spent, he muttered. You'll work it off, I said. I'm billing you for the full amount plus damages to my lock. You have 6 months to pay me back or I'm pressing charges. Dad just sat there, staring at the floor. Lily, please, don't do this. We can work something out. There's nothing to work out, I said. I'm leaving. You made your choice when you brought them here before Mom was even cold. Now live with it. Sandra's voice turned poison sweet. You'll regret this. Walking away from your family like this. You're not my family, I said. You're the woman who slept with my father while my mother was dying, and he's the man who let you. I turned to Dad. Mom left you a letter too. Mr. Hendricks has it. You should read it. Maybe then you'll understand what you threw away. I walked out of that house and didn't look back. Moving day was quiet. I hired movers for the big furniture, but most of what I took was mine anyway. Clothes, books, Mom's photo albums that I'd hidden in my closet. Dad didn't help. He stood in the driveway, hands in his pockets, watching the truck get loaded. You really leaving? He asked. I really am. What am I supposed to tell people? Tell them the truth, I said. Tell them you replaced Mom before the funeral flowers wilted and your daughter couldn't stomach watching it. His eyes filled with tears. I loved your mother. Not enough. The lake house was exactly what I needed. Small, quiet, surrounded by pine trees and water. I spent the first week just sitting on the dock, feet dangling, letting the grief I'd been holding finally spill out. I cried for Mom, for the future she'd never see, for the man Dad used to be before Sandra. But I also felt something else. Relief. Freedom. The suffocating weight of that house and those people lifted off my shoulders. I got a job at a conservation nonprofit nearby. The pay was less than my old corporate gig, but I could work from home most days, and the mission mattered. I adopted a dog from the shelter, a scruffy mutt named Pepper who loved swimming as much as I did. Life got smaller and infinitely better. Dad called once a week at first. I didn't answer. He left voicemails that started angry, turned pleading, then stopped coming altogether. 6 months after I left, Mr. Hendricks called with news. Your father and Sandra are divorcing, he said. Apparently, without your rent money and the prospect of selling the lake house, they couldn't afford the lifestyle Sandra expected. She's already moved out. And Tyler? Moved back in with Sandra? They're renting an apartment across town. What about Dad? He's alone in the house. He asked if I'd pass along a message. He wants to see you. I thought about it for a long time. Then I said, tell him I'll think about it. It took another 3 months before I drove back down. The house looked smaller than I remembered. The lawn needed mowing. Paint was peeling on the shutters. Dad answered the door in a wrinkled t-shirt, looking 10 years older than the last time I'd seen him. Lily, he breathed. Hi, Dad. He led me inside. The living room was exactly as Sandra had left it, sterile and cold. Mom's quilts were still in storage somewhere. Her chair was gone. We sat across from each other, awkward as strangers. I read your mother's letter, he said finally, the one she left for me. And? She said she forgave me for the affair, said she understood I was scared of losing her, so I'd already started letting her go. But she also said if I let Sandra erase her from this house, from our lives, she'd never forgive me for what it would do to you. He wiped his eyes. She was right. About all of it. I was a coward. I let Sandra bulldoze everything because it was easier than feeling the grief. And I lost you in the process. I didn't say anything. I'm not asking you to forgive me, he continued. I know I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. For all of it. And your mother would be so proud of the woman you've become. My throat tightened. She gave me a way out because she knew I'd need it. She was always smarter than me. We sat there as the afternoon light slanted through the windows, two people trying to figure out if there was anything left worth saving. I can't come back here, I said finally. This place doesn't feel like home anymore. I know, he said. I'm actually selling it. Too many ghosts. Where will you go? I don't know yet. Somewhere smaller, somewhere I can start over. I stood to leave. He walked me to the door. Will you visit? He asked. Wherever I end up? Maybe, I said. If you prove you mean it, if you go to therapy, if you actually deal with losing her instead of running away. I'll do it, he said. Whatever it takes. I believed him, or at least I wanted to. A year later, Dad moved to a small condo near the coast. He started seeing a grief counselor, joined a support group, began volunteering at the hospice where Mom had spent her final days. We had coffee once a month, neutral territory, slow and careful. We talked about Mom sometimes, shared memories that didn't hurt quite so much anymore. He apologized again and again until I finally told him to stop. I'm working on forgiving you, I said, but it's a process. Don't rush me. Take all the time you need, he said. As for Sandra and Tyler, I heard through mutual acquaintances that they'd moved 2 states away after Tyler got arrested for credit card fraud. I didn't ask for details. They'd already taken enough of my energy. Me? I stayed at the lake house. I turned Mom's trust fund into a foundation that helped young women who'd lost their mothers, providing scholarships and mentorship and grief counseling. I named it the Evelyn Hayes Foundation, after Mom. On the first anniversary of her death, I scattered the rest of her ashes from the dock at sunset. Pepper sat beside me, head on my knee, as the water turned gold and pink. Thank you, I whispered to the wind, for knowing, for protecting me, for loving me enough to let me go. The lake was quiet except for the lapping of waves. I sat there until the stars came out, feeling something I hadn't felt in 2 years. Peace. And maybe, just maybe, the beginning of something like happiness. Thank you, my loves, for watching until the end of the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the newest videos.